Hello, I hope you're having a great day. So I am out here. It's been rainy, windy all night, and I think the rain let up for a little bit here. So I'm going to hurry up and harvest some peonies. And I was just going to show you when I harvest them. So this peony is actually a little bigger than I would like to harvest it at. It just popped overnight. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest it, and I will just use it really quick. And then this peony, it has like this soft feel to it. So I'm gonna harvest that peony. And then this peony is too hard still. And you can kind of see the greens opened up on this peony. And it just feels soft. It's not quite marshmallowy, but if I'm just gonna store it in cold storage and pull it out and put it in warm water, it'll open. This is already broken open. Something like this where it's never broken open, it's still all combined, that's never gonna open if you cut it. And then another thing with the peony is I like to leave leaves because you want it to replenish the root. So I know florists love long stems, but I think my plant is more important. So what I usually do is I look at the bottom of the plant and I make sure that there's at least 2 sets of leaves, if not 3. So I'm probably going to cut this peony right here where my finger is. And I'm going to leave that set of leaves, that set of leaves, and this set of leaves. And that is about 1/3 of the stem. And then I'm leaving about 2/3 of that stem. I've had good luck with that method. These peonies all came back, and they came back even stronger than they were last year. I did clean up around them. I gave them a little bit of fertilizer, which I don't think they'd had in a long time. So they did come back stronger, but obviously me cutting them didn't hurt them in any way. And so I'm continuing to cut that way this year. And now I've came in and I've just pulled off all the stems. So I've got clean stems, don't need to regenerate any of those leaves. I can find filler for that. And then I'm just going to wrap them in my plastic wrap and put them in a fridge. So I have them all wrapped up, airtight, and then I just move them into a cooler that is hopefully like 32, 33 degrees. So when I'm harvesting my peonies, I try to just get them when they start softening up. Everybody says marshmallow stage because it feels like a marshmallow. But I just, I've been feeling them for like the last 2 weeks, and when they quit being really hard and they just have a little squish to them, I go ahead and I pick them. And sometimes you have to let them open up in water for 2 days or 3 days, but they get a really long vase life. I always leave enough leaves to regenerate anything over the summer for what the root system needs to generate new flowers next year. I clean off all the leaves after I cut it. I just strip them all off with my hands and make sure they're dry. I wrap them in plastic cling wrap. And I usually just fold it over the top and the bottom and then wrap it all up so it's nice and I know that there's not a lot of air getting in there. And I try to put them in my cooler, which last year I kept it between 32 and 33 degrees. And I think I pulled peonies out months later and they were still good. Now towards the end they started looking a little rough. So I would say, 2 to 3 months is probably the most you're gonna get out of them if you do it that way. So I'm gonna go harvest some more and I'll just show you my harvest. I just kind of put them in front of this fan because they're really wet. It's been raining all night. So now that the leaves are off, I'm just going to let them dry out a little bit so they don't get moldy in the cooler. Okay, so last night it was raining a lot and I didn't come back out because it was a holiday. This is how I would normally want, or even this. This will store a lot better and a lot longer, but it takes a lot longer to open. So like if I took 10 of these out of the fridge, I couldn't use them that day unless maybe I boiled some water and put them in boiling water. and then they might open up. But like this one is, you know, that one's perfect for a vase right now. So this one was a little bit too much. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna kind of pat them dry, put them in my plastic wrap, put them in the cooler, because I can take ones like these out for the farmer's market this week, and I have bouquet subscriptions, so those will be okay. And I think what I'm going to do is take all my batches, I already counted them into 10, but I'm going to put them in more like, so that I know these will store longer and I need to use these right away. So that's what I'm going to do. And like I said, these will open. They're soft. You can feel them. You can see they're starting to open. They'll just last longer in the cooler, and they'll give you a better vase life later. Like that's about perfect. This will give a great vase life. It's soft. The petals are starting to open. Okay, now I'm just gonna wrap 10 at a time. So I take them to florists, that's usually what they get. And then also I know how many vases I can do with 10. Okay, they're wrapped up. Pretty airtight. There's a little moisture in there, but these I'm using in a couple of days, so I think they'll be alright. So I would like to note, I did a video last year, but maybe you haven't been watching me that long, where I did a test where I put some of these in newspaper in the refrigerator, and I did some in the plastic wrap. And the newspaper worked until about 1.5 months. And at about 1.5 months, any of the peonies in the newspaper, they were bad when they opened. They didn't work. And the ones in the plastic wrap were good up to like 3 months, and then they started being bad. So I decided I was just going to use the plastic wrap because in my cooler it worked better. Other people's coolers, the newspaper might work better. But I just thought it was worth noting, because if you have problems storing in one or the other, maybe try, you know, if you do it in plastic and you don't have success, try newspaper. And if you try it in newspaper and don't have success, try plastic. So there they all are, getting cooled off. So I probably would have been better off coming through and cutting all my salvia. Remember how I wanted to see what happened if I let it go? It just turns brown and it's kind of spent. But the bloom stalk still would look pretty, so good to know. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I think also I can fill in the gaps a lot easier. They have room to breathe. They're not fighting with the black plastic. I did leave the black plastic like under here because I don't want a bunch of weeds. So weeds can grow up like where the plants are, but hopefully not on the sides. And the holes go to here. And this was ageratum, so I just left it. But see, it's still just a hole because I was like, oh, ageratum can grow in a hole. But I just kind of cut out the middle, like right through the middle. I cut out and pulled it off of the plants. So hopefully over time this middle section can just fill in and it will all be the purple coneflowers or white coneflowers or yellow coneflowers, because I'm hoping that things don't grow in the mulch on top of the plastic, although they might. But then I should be able to scrape away the mulch. And again, this is just a test. I want to kind of see how it does. So I just did the coneflowers. I still have, like my yarrow takes up the whole row and it could probably be cut out. But there's not much room even for mulch because it's so thick and it comes up really early. And same with the baby's breath. It really took over. So I think it would be easy to weed. But we'll see how it works. Just trying to come up with the best ways, and Obviously, for perennials, the first year that black works phenomenal. I mean, I didn't have to weed a ton. I still did have to weed. But then as the plants get bigger, obviously they outgrow the circles and then something has to be done. So we'll see how that works. And if it works really well, I might do that with other perennials as I go. And it kind of makes a nice border to the beginning of the little flower field, the perennial flower field. Hopefully I can just mow kind of right up to the mulch now. We'll see how that works. But yeah, that looks good. It wasn't too bad either, mulch-wise. It didn't take too much. Some of it would take less, like that yarrow would take less. And you can kind of see, this is what was happening with the coneflowers too, which is why I did this. See how the plants start pulling up the black, and then there's all these like cracks along it, which weeds grow in, but it doesn't have room to grow. And for some of the stuff that will reseed itself or drop seeds and fill it in nice and thick, it can't really do that. So that's kind of on my agenda, and I will just work at it as I can. Hopefully this perennial field will be beautiful little perennial field someday. It's all full with nice little walkways. And I do have one, see there's some little ones coming in there, and I can even drop seeds now that it's just, you know, there's no holes. But I did stop here, and now that picks back up with the daisies, and they don't seem to be picking it up or losing any kind of structure from it, so I might leave it. And then the rest of the row, I'm not real sure. This was all supposed to be daisies, so some of the daisies just didn't come back. And up here is black-eyed Susans, so I don't know how many of them are gonna come back or not, but obviously it needs weeded. And I'm hoping this row ends up just full of perennials. And I hope it's easier to weed. It does get harder to weed with all of these circles once the plants get bigger too. I hope everybody has a great day.